G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a G-58 Dian. This is a Kang Tao submachine gun from Cyberpunk 2077. It is basically the same one as I used a while back, but this one is made by a different mod author. So things have been done a little bit differently here, and to what I've seen, a lot better. We'll go over the customization, we'll get into it nice and quickly because the customization here is not that much. So you can upgrade your damage with a powerful receiver for gun nut rank 3, which is a lot of ranks for not a whole lot of increase of damage. You can't do anything with the barrel, the stock. The magazine, you can make that reload speed slightly faster for a gun nut rank 2. The smart link is always there. No muzzle attachments can be applied here. You're stuck with that muzzle brake. And you've also got a legendary effect, which we won't be utilizing for now, but worth mentioning if you choose explosive or what's it called, plasma infused, they'll be projectile overrides, and what'll happen is you'll lose that ability to track and have this thing as a smart SMG. So if you're going to use any legendary effects, make it the ones that'll change the numbers only. So powerful, rapid might be an interesting pick. Two-shot, just double your projectiles. Wounding would be good for a rapid fire weapon, those sorts of things. We might look into doing that a little bit later should this thing be not cutting it in terms of damage, but for now, there's our G-58 Dian. Let's talk about getting this thing. Also worth mentioning that there's a Yinglong version, which doesn't have any of the customization, but a legendary effect is there, and as you can tell, slightly higher damage with a tiny little bit of energy damage thrown on top. Okay, it's time to get these things, and the only way to get these things is through console commands, so we'll have to use the search function. That's easy to do. Type help, and then your keyword, we'll just type in Ying or Yinglong, and then 4. That'll search for forms listed under 4, which is basically most of your items from the game. And you want to narrow that search down to weapons, so we'll just type wep like that, and that'll spit out your weapon. So in this case, it's F8004 CD7. So then we go player dot add item F8004C D7. Now, for you at home who might be following this particular way, you might find that your first 2 numbers or letters here would be different, but depending on your load order, of course, but the rest of it will be the same. And of course, if you want to go for the G-58 Dian, just go 58 for WEP, and then that spits out that one. Now we can scroll up through our previous inputs on the console commands because it'll be the same, at least for the first 4 letters, and then we can type in 451A, and there we go. We've just got them in our inventory like that for free, and all we had to do was type on the keyboard. And if that was too hard to follow, maybe there'll be an update in the future that allows these to be dropped on a workbench. And if you don't have console commands active for your game, then you simply won't be able to get these. Either make the recipes yourself or just enable console commands to get these in your game. And obviously this means consoles, you're out of luck. I don't suspect there's a console port for these weapons yet, but perhaps in time you might see it on the old Xbox. We'll see. Righto, so we're on the inside of Gunner's Plaza because going on the outside here would just be crazy talk because this thing just doesn't do enough damage to sustain itself in a firefight. But anyways, this is what the G-58 looks like in first person. When you aim down sights, you sort of hold it diagonal like the other mod, but I think the presentation for these mods and all of the animations are just so much better. And they're all rotoscoped, which means traced over. So a lot of hard work and dedication went into this, so I don't mind showing it off a little bit. So obviously in its normal form here, it's very compact, but when you need to get it out, then it sort of extends itself. And I think in universe this thing is used by emergency services, so when they come under fire they can whip it out. It won't be super encumbering because it's a small thing, and then they don't have to worry about aiming it either, so precise military training wouldn't need to apply. That's what I wrote on the wiki or something like that, but I'm not really familiar with cyberpunk lore. It's never really interested me. Let's have a look at this thing in third person. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And it's got a reload animation in third person. The reload animations here are going to be super fast, but they are slower variants that have this cycle in a little bit more detail, I think. But I'd pick the faster reloads over this any day of the week. Now, I got a lock on before, but that's not happening now. That's weird. Also, here's the Ying Long version. It's got this red bit on the side. Is it the Chinese flag in the Cyberpunk universe? Could be. But let's get started. There we go. Some nice cheeky sneak criticals there. Make that first gunner go down nice and fast. But we'll switch back over to the standard one here. We're only getting 25 damage per shot, and we're going to be doing big mag dumps before these guys drop. And I don't think the range on this thing is too flash either, because even from back there I was somehow hitting that turret for less despite being a much less armored target. That's a big machine gun you got down there. Luckily I can stagger you out from using that. But yeah, it's not the strongest weapon around, so we're going to fire a lot of bullets, but at least we don't have to worry about aiming, and hopefully we might be able to see some of these projectiles be bounced and bended around a corner. That'd be sick, right? But for the most part, it looks like their trajectory is just going from a ballistic path. As soon as it gets out of the barrel, it's gonna fly straight onto your target. Now, instead of locking on in close quarters and shooting them with the smart feature, the more prudent option might actually be to skip the aiming down sights of part of it and just shoot them in the head for a little bit of that extra damage. See, that 61 is pretty high damage for this particular weapon now, don't you think? Unfortunately, the element of surprise isn't going to last super long here, but we got a couple of shots. We're actually still in caution for now, so yeah, okay, we're hitting for 17 damage. I mean, we're getting the hits in. It's like almost a guarantee, but and that gunner heroically blocked the shots for the other man, so that's kind of cool. Is that a Gatling laser? That is a Gatling laser. Should I be worried about that? No. No, she goes down. She's definitely the priority target there, I think. So, just like other smart gun mods, I don't think this is balanced particularly well. Maybe in mind for a lesser difficulty than this one. That's a penetrating Gatling laser. That's not really that dangerous, I don't think. But I feel like you might be able to get just better DPS out of a standard 10mm pistol. Now, that gun's not going to aim for you, but listen, back in my day, you actually had to aim your rifles and guns. These days, the kids, they just want the guns to do it for you. Call me a boomer, but I prefer a little bit of user input in my games. I never even used the smart SMGs in Cyberpunk once. Never even saw the appeal. Gameplay-wise, it does dull it a little bit here in Fallout 4, but I do appreciate the work and time that's been put into this mod and really brought this weapon to life. This is a lot better than the version that I saw of this Kang Tao submachine gun that I saw when I originally did it. Also, I missed this guy. See, like I said, stopping the lock-ons and going straight for headshots, that's the way you run it. And I guess with that, we'll apply some legendary effects and try to kill some monsters. Also, we've got a hair mod today. It's a ponytail looking thing. Alright, so we're going to fight Swan in a second. He looks like he's occupied with a bunch of Cazadors and stuff. And there's a glowing Radstag in my face. Get out of here. And I'm gonna see if you can guess what legendary effect is on this. That'll give you a decent idea of what we're dealing with here. But I've just got to thinking just for a second that I know I diss smart guns and everything, but then again I use VATS and stuff, which is sort of aiming for you. The difference is that VATS is a little bit more of a tactical choice, whereas this is just sort of brain dead, point the gun at the bad guy and shoot him. So, and I'm almost dead. But luckily for me, the stacks in the end got the... wait, how much health did I have after all of that? 56. Probably not enough, but that regeneration process has started already. I think Curie's perk should have probably procced by now, getting that extra health after being, I don't know, knocked out. But yeah, VATS is always a tactical choice because there's a whole lot of things you got to manage, and if you waste your VATS around or you don't do enough damage, you've got nothing to sprint away. So there's a little bit more there than just auto-aiming, but this is just point the gun and then hold down mouse button 1 or whatever your trigger button is, and then it's not gonna care. That's a big horner. Hello. I can talk to it? No, I can't. I like big horners. They're like big goat things. They'll feed a town just by themselves. I think in the context of a Cyberpunk video game, smart guns make a lot of sense, and there's probably going to be players out there that, you know, they like Cyberpunk for the story, but aren't that good at shooters, and they'll probably find themselves a little bit of a disadvantage. But if they got a smart gun, then they don't have to worry about that. They can get back to talking to Keanu Reeves very quickly. Not that that's really a problem with the difficulty in that game. Even the hardest difficulty, the enemies would go down nice and fast and everything. This is Two Shot, if you're wondering. So it's not really a problem, I don't think. But I could understand wanting to get to the story faster, because that was one of the bits I do remember. I think Keanu Reeves did a great job as Johnny Silverhand in that game. But as you can tell, we're getting the work done here. The recoil on this thing is actually kind of insane, which is nice because I don't have to worry about compensating for that, because the projectiles are going to find their way there. And all of that multi-projectile nonsense is going to keep him nice and staggered for the duration of that fight. So, you know, there's a little bit of utility in that. Now I can sweep for insects. He's taken very good cover behind that fishy corpse there. Good on him. Sometimes you'll get the moments where the blood bugs will just run away, and they're hard to track down sometimes. So if you got a smart weapon, just lock on and like point at the mantis, and then the bullets will find their way there eventually and get that little bastard that runs away. I wonder what does that, because sometimes the bloatflies do that as well. Probably just some AI thing. Also, interesting, there's a frag mine there. Anyways, I think that about does it for the Cyberpunk smart guns, both the G-58 and the Yinglong. I don't think they're terrible weapon mods, but honestly, they're just not my cup of tea. And the amount of damage they do, I'd be happier with some of the games in the vanilla game, just for performance reasons. But I do think these have been integrated really well. They've been faithfully recreated, and obviously due to the rotoscoping animations, they feel genuine. Like they've stepped out of the Cyberpunk universe and have landed in the Fallout universe. Obviously, it's law breaking, but because the Chinese wouldn't have a hope and prayer of developing this type of technology, especially in the Fallout universe, because, well, you've seen what kind of weapons they use. They use these weird, what are they, RPDs? At least they're like AKs, but they've got RPD handguards or RPD handguards, something like that. Also, trigger discipline. It's good to see. Is that... We're so disciplined on the trigger that we don't touch it at all. That's impressive. And on that note, thank you very much for watching. I'm out. See ya.